Hello everyone. I have started the recording of the webinar now. It is 8:07 as per my computer clock India time, and I think we should get started. I can see around 21 people have joined the webinar, and I'm sure few more will join in some time. But in interest of the time, and since a lot of people have joined, let's get started. My name is Ravi and I am the host of this webinar series, and I am also the speaker for today's webinar. So I welcome you to the Business Agility webinar series organized by RX Agile. In this webinar series, we are covering 6 aspects of business agility, that is strategic management and leadership, lean and agile practices, technology and engineering practices, analytics and business intelligence, operational excellence and business performance, and lastly, organizational development and change management. So far, we have conducted 5 webinars in this series which talked about strategic management, technology, analytics, operational excellence, and organizational development. In today's webinar, I would be talking about lean and agile practices. So the topic for today's discussion is a framework to assess business agility. So in this webinar, I would be talking about how organization can say that if they are ready to embrace business agility, or if they have embraced business agility, which are the parameter or aspects it should consider for a continual evaluation of the business agility maturity. A brief about myself. My name is Ravi Kumar. I am based out at Bangalore. I have around 20 years of experience and I have worked across the spectrum in an organization from strategic management to product development to new product introduction and also in operations management. In my current capacity, I am a product evangelist or a product manager building RX Agile, which is an instructor centric platform. A little bit about my educational background. I have an degree in the field of biological sciences. I am a PhD dropout. I dropped out of my PhD after 3.5 years, and after that I spent 13 years in the field of bioinformatics, medical devices, and biological drug development. In 2013, I moved to entrepreneurship and I started my journey in the world of information technology, and I developed and launched a job portal by the name of DNA Jobs, which was specifically catering to life science industry. So this was my first ideation in the field of bringing biology and IT together. And now I am building the RX Agile, which is an instructor centric platform, along with a team of business analysts, software developers, and other business intelligence guys. So that's about myself. As far as my credentials are concerned, I am a program management professional. I also hold a PMP and PMICP credential from PMI. I am a PSPO. I also hold Agile coaching certification, and I am a Kanban management professional. I am a practicing and active SPC, say program consultant, and I also certified PMOCP, that is PMO certified practitioner, which is based on PMO value frame. So in this webinar, I believe I would be able to share some of my experiences around business agility and would also love to hear your thoughts around the same lines. So let's get started. A few pointers before we get into the talk. Please switch off your video in order to conserve the bandwidth. Post your questions in the chat box. Fortunately, I would be able to see all your questions. Zoom meeting offers us that functionality that while sharing my screen, I can still see your question, and I would be taking them either during the conversation or towards the end of the conversation. But feel free to raise your hand or ask any question if you want to connect with me during the webinar. Please use your mic only when required. So the control of your mic is with you. So I expect that you will keep yourself muted unless and until you want to speak with me or want to start a conversation. Thank you for understanding, and with that note, let's get started. So I'm formally welcoming you to the webinar now. So here is the agenda, what we are going to cover. So we will discuss what we know about business agility today. So we will define what is business agility in today's context. Then we'll spend some time tracking back the origins of business agility. Then we will discuss how do organizations evaluate if they are embracing business agility or not. Moving forward, I will also give you an understanding about various business agility models known to business, and I will also then present the business model, the business agility model RX Agile has developed, and then we will end up with a comprehensive definition of business agility with an understanding that how business agility should be perceived by organization and what an organization should do in order to evaluate its maturity towards embracing business agility. So this is how the webinar is structured. I hope it would be valuable to you and it will add some value to your existing knowledge base. A disclaimer: this presentation cites original work of several researchers and authors. References to such citations has been provided in the presentation. This presentation also uses infographics and images from several sources. Such usage is only for the purpose adding value to the understanding of the subject covered in this presentation. Wherever possible, attribution to such images and infographics is provided. Usage of such image or any other resource used in this presentation does not intend to infringe copyrights of the owners or any third parties. So with that note, I am moving forward. So we'll begin with the very basic question: what we know about business agility today. So here is a very simple definition or the understanding. Business agility can be called as the ability of an organization to stay responsive and adaptive in today's business context. And let me tell you that this definition has evolved over a period of time. Or in other words, I can say that this definition is nothing but sum total of the knowledge we have about several domains which can be combined together and can be called as business agility. So why I'm saying so, what these domains are, how this definition has come up, this is what we are going to discuss in the remainder of the presentation. So a good point to get an holistic understanding of business agility would be tracing back the origins of business agility. So next few slides I will give you an understanding how this concept has evolved, and this discussion eventually would be helpful for us to derive the business agility framework, which is the overarching agenda of this webinar. Alright, so this is how I would like to put together the knowledge of business agility available to us today. Origins of business agility can be traced back to various disciplines, including but not limited to operation research, product development, business intelligence, business modeling, etc., converging to strategic management. So the underpinning thought behind this statement is that what we know about business agility today, or what we call business agility today, it is coming from, or it has evolved from, several disciplines. Okay, and if you look at it from a business perspective, it would be fair to say that the convergence is towards strategic management. Okay, so I would like to simplify these things, and in the slides which are coming up now, I will give you an understanding how different concepts coming from different domains and disciplines are converging to strategic management, and it has shaped up the domain of what we call today as business agility. Okay, so let's trace back the origins, where it has come from, or where the concepts have evolved from. So to begin with, I will give you a very small example which I happened to hear from one of the classes of Dr. R. Srinivasan, who is Professor of Marketing and Strategy in the Department of Management Studies, IISc Bangalore. So I'm just quoting the example he quoted in one of his classes. If you see on your device screen, you will see a picture, and the people who are familiar about Indian mythology, they will quickly notice that this is Mahabharata, one of the epic stories in Indian mythology. So there is a connection about Mahabharata and business agility. So let me tell you what it is. To cut the long story short, when the Kauravas and Pandavas, the two opponents, were fighting for the kingdom, the Pandavas were proving superior throughout this battle, which, okay, and when Kauravas were losing, they were under a constant threat and they were under a lot of pressure. And during this time, they sought help from their guru or from their mentor. The name of the mentor is Dronacharya, and the chief of Kauravas, whose name is Duryodhana, asked Dronacharya that what are you doing? The Kauravas are losing like anything, the Pandavas are moving towards victory, and so far we have not been able to kill any of their commander. What you are gonna do about it? So this is the time when Dronacharya suggested that, okay, let me help you in this particular situation. And this is where Dronacharya proposed a mechanism and promised Duryodhana that by the end of evening tomorrow, at least one commander from the Pandavas will get killed. And what he devised is called as Chakravyuha. And the people who are familiar about Mahabharata, they know that in this particular Chakravyuha, which was nothing but a setup created by Dronacharya to trap the commanders of Pandava, one commander got trapped. His name is Abhimanyu. So towards the end of the day, Abhimanyu gets killed, and this is how Dronacharya succeeded in the framework he created. So why I told you this story? If you look at what Dronacharya did, he set up the what I'm saying is Chakravyuha. This can be called as strategy. So strategy in this case was how to win the battle against the Pandavas. Okay, so this is what in simple words we can call it as strategy. And if you put up this analogy in business world, we can say that strategy is all about winning. It also means that it is the choice or choices an organization make to conduct and sustain its existence. So going back to the analogy or example I give you in Mahabharata, Kauravas set up a strategy to win the battle against the Pandavas. So in today's world, if we see that the business world is kind of a big battle, the organization also need to make certain choices so that they can win in this marketplace. So that set of choices, in simple words, is what we call it as strategy. And understanding of strategy is very important if you really want to take a deep dive in the domain of business agility. So let's take a look at it, the consolidated view of the conversation we had so far. So on this particular slide, at the center, you can see an organization which is surrounded by an ecosystem, which is represented by small or bigger dots. And the very purpose of an organization is nothing but to meet or achieve certain goals. In business language, what we call it as strategic goals. So again, to summarize, we can say that an organization is an entity within an ecosystem, and in that ecosystem, the organization has to make certain choices in order to meet the goals, which would be indicators of its success and failures. So business agility domain, in my opinion, revolves around these 3 points. In the remainder of the presentation, I will take up each of these points and will help you understand how they relate to business agility. Let's move forward. So let's ask One important question out of the three questions that we just discussed on the earlier side, or the three aspects we discussed on the earlier slide. How do organizations evaluate if they are embracing business agility or not? So in very simplified way, I have come to a conclusion that we need answers to three questions, or we need to assess three key parameters. Number one, ability of organizations to continually assess the evolving environment in which they operate. As I showed you on the earlier slide, that organization works within an environment. So one of the key aspects of business agility would be how organization assess what is the environment in which it is operating. And it would be fair to say that this business environment is continually changing. The second important attribute or parameter could be ability of organization to set up, monitor and continually revise the goals they intend to achieve. Now this has a connection with the earlier attribute. If the environment is dynamic, it means that the choices an organization is going to make, that would also be dynamic. And if dynamic is existing at the choices level, then perhaps the goals an organization has set up or going to set up, they may also change or they may also evolve. Third important aspect would be ability of an organization to perform the work to achieve the goals. Now this is even more important. It has connection to the earlier two parameters. Look carefully or think carefully. The environment is evolving. The goals are also constantly changing. So if these are two variables, right? So to meet these two variables, the organization will also have to adapt at an operation level and do the work in order to achieve the goals it has set out. Or we can also say that if the goals are changing, the strategic goals are also changing, the organization quickly needs to adapt the work it has been doing previously plus the work it needs to do now, because the environment has changed and the goals have also changed. So in my humble opinion, as a researcher, as a student of the domain of business agility, I would say that a business agility in true sense for an organization is about gaining control around these three parameters. So having said that, now I will jump into each of these attributes and I will give you an understanding what we know today about these three attributes, and then I will conclude understanding the knowledge around these three attributes, how we can put them together and create a framework for monitoring or assessing business agility. Let's move forward. Okay, so let's start with the first attribute, ability of organization to continually assess the evolving environment in which they operate. Let's understand what is our understanding of this aspect. What is the current state of knowledge? What is the body of knowledge available around this attribute? That is something we need to understand, because this knowledge will help us to understand how it has a connection with business agility. So let's start. So I am presenting this in terms of a timeline beginning from 1985 to 2019 or 2016. Okay. So let me start with a very seminal work that is done by Michael Porter, who is also called as Strategy Guru. In 1985, Michael Porter published a book, Competitive Advantage, Creating and Sustaining Superior Performance. So in this book, Michael Porter talked about competitive strategy, the core concepts. And in these core concepts, he talked about 5 competitive forces that determine industry profitability, namely potential entrants, buyers, substitutes, suppliers, and industry competitors. I'm not gonna explain you what these 5 forces are, but I'm trying to give you an underlying message. And the underlying message is that this seminal world gave business fraternity an understanding that environment or the environment that is existent around the organization can be studied around 5 potential parameters, and these 5 potential parameters are the 5 competitive forces. Or 5 competitive forces. So in summary, these 5 competitive forces uh, is basic about, let me just put up my thought process together. These 5 competitive forces creates an ecosystem. Okay, so one of the key understanding we have about ecosystem is that to study an ecosystem around an organization, we can study these 5 competitive forces. So this knowledge we do have coming to us from the work done by people in the past. Let's move forward. If you are somebody from software industry and if you have used this word VUCA very frequently, then you also need to understand where the origins are. The origins can be traced back to US Army Heritage and Education Center. This is also around the year 1985. Okay, so VUCA is volatility, uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity. In simple words, US Army Heritage and Education Center provided a mechanism to describe the ecosystem or environment in which organizations are operating today. Okay, and that ecosystem they classified or characterized around 4 attributes: volatility, uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity. In simple words, the way it has been explained in the literature is that these are 4 different problems an organization needs to deal with. And to deal with these 4 different problems, the approaches also needs to be different. So put things together, I would like to tell you is that the ecosystem around an organization can be assessed around these 4 parameters, and after assessing the ecosystem around these 4 parameters, you can set up the strategy or you can set up the choices to deal with the underlying environment. So what is next that we have? So these are the 4 parameters: volatility, uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity. Okay. In 1998, we also came to know about a concept of strategic flexibility. Okay, I repeat, in 1998, a seminal research paper was published by Michael Hitt, and the title is Navigating in the New Competitive Landscape: Building Strategic Flexibility and Competitive Advantage in the 21st Century. So you can see that it is a straightforward from the Michael Porter's work of the 5 forces. Okay, and if you look at it, this is one of the highly cited article. 460 citations I could figure out after reading this original research article. Okay, so see what this article says. A new competitive landscape is developing largely based on the technological revolution and increasing globalization. So again, we are not getting into the depth of this article, but the point I am trying to tell you is that from the time 1985, when Michael Porter talked about the 5 competitive forces, until 1998, the business environment changed. And during this change, this concept of strategic flexibility was coined in the business fraternity. So all I'm trying to tell you is that if you are talking about business agility, or let us say in earlier webinars, Swapna talk about strategic agility, right? So origin of these concepts can be traced back, long back into the literature. So to conclude on this slide, what I'm trying to tell you is that businesses did understand that the technological and globalization aspects are further contributing to the complexity of the existing ecosystem in which organizations are operating, and they need to be ready to deal with this changing environment. Okay, now let's talk about this particular book. In 2001, a book came out, Responsibility, by Rick Dow. So in this book, Rick Dove talked about two important aspects: sensing the environment and responding to the environment. I'm going to discuss more about it in remainder of the presentation, but as far as my knowledge is concerned in the domain of business agility, I believe every single framework around business agility more or less use these two important concepts. That is sensing the environment. What is the environment? And if you understand the environment, how do you respond in to that environment? Okay, so if we are into the year 2019, you can comfortably say that business agility can be construed or perceived around these two parameters. So in this famous book, Response Ability, Rick Dove called sensing of the environment as the knowledge management aspect. That is, organization should have capability to understand what is happening outside the organization, so that they should have mechanism to build knowledge around that. And the second attribute he talked about is responding to the environment, and this is where the term responsibility he coined. That is the capability and capacity of an organization how to deal with the ever-changing environment. Okay, again, to put these things together, the underlying message I'm trying to give you is that by 2001, considering the changes in technology, globalization and business model, right, businesses came to know that they need to be ready responding to the changing environment. Let's move forward. Another important point, okay, that came out in 2016. So today we talk about the fourth industrial revolution. Okay, so this fourth industrial revolution, the term for the first time was proposed by Klaus Schwab, who is the chief of World Economic Forum, and he wrote a very fantastic book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution. So in this book, Klaus Schwab talked about emergence of several technologies which are changing the business models, which are changing the ecosystem in which organizations are working. For instance, cloud computing, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning, 3D printing, biotechnology, robotics, self-driving cars, so on and so forth. And in this book, he also talked about what we can expect in terms of impact of this technology and the changing business environment, and how it's gonna impact the goal setting exercises of the organization, the strategic choices they are going to make going forward. Okay, so through this work, I'm just trying to tell you is that as of today, we do have an understanding how to understand and assess the environment in which organizations operate. And I have given you 4 good and classic references around that. Alright, now having talked about this ecosystem or environment part, let's move forward to understanding the second attribute. That is, ability of organization to set up, monitor and continually revise the goals they intend to achieve. Okay, so in this particular bucket, let's understand what is the knowledge we have. Understanding the ecosystem, how organizations are setting up the goals and how they are continuously monitoring and evaluating, are they really meeting the goals? Do they have a need to switch their goals? Let's talk about it. So I would like to present you this another seminal work, again done by Michael Porter in 1996. In fact, I must say that in 1996, a famous article by the name of What is Strategy was published by Michael Porter in Harvard Business Review. So in this article, Michael Porter gave us 3 insights. First is unique positioning. That is, or before I get into unique position, let me summarize this. In this article, Michael Porter provided us an insight that how organization can make choices to conduct and sustain their business, or how organization can make choices to win in the competitive landscape. And to do that, he proposed 3 options. Number one is unique positioning. That is, he provided an insight that if you are an organization, you can serve few needs of many customers, or you can serve broad needs of many customers, or you can serve broad needs of many customers. So these are various combinations available to you. He also gave an insight about choose what not to do. Meaning, the piece of advice that came out of this article from Michael Porter is that what you choose to do is at the expense of what you choose not to do. So, Michael Porter presented a philosophy that it is very important for an organization to make a decision where they will not be positioning themselves or where they will not be focusing, because while they have chosen to do certain things, it will come at an expense of something else. So organization needs to be cognizant of the ecosystem around that, evaluate their capabilities, and then decide what makes sense for us to do, and only do that. And the last thing Michael Porter talked about in this article is about creating a fit among companies' activities. So he said that companies should be able to align all of their activities to meet a goal. So this was more about operational excellence part. So this understanding businesses got in terms of formal literature in 1996. So whatever we talk about strategic planning today, right, or strategic flexibility, it would be fair to say that the origins goes back to this famous article. Let's move back. In 1992, another insights came from Robert Kaplan and David B. Norton. In their famous article, The Balanced Scorecard, Measures That Drive Performance. So in this article, Robert Kaplan and Norton argued that financial measures, especially return on investment or any other financial measure, is not good enough for an organization to assess its performance. So, taking a step forward, these two gentlemen proposed what we today know as balanced scorecard, and they proposed 4 indicators around which performance of an organization can be measured: financial perspectives, customer perspectives, innovation and learning perspective, and internal business perspective. So if you look at here, there is financial part, there is market need part, there is knowledge management or people part, and there is operational excellence part. So Norton and Kaplan provided business fraternity with a very good tool how they can ensure that whether they are moving towards the intended goals. Again, intent of this particular webinar is not to get into the details of all this available knowledge, but just to give you an understanding how these things are interrelated with each other. Another important contribution was made by Andy Grove in 1983, one of the founders of Intel. So in 1985, Andy Grove created this mechanism of OKR. Okay, so this OKRs is still the foundation of high performance in companies like Google or Gates Foundation. Okay, objectives and key result. So Andy Grove also gave us a mechanism how organization can set up goals and evaluate whether they are moving towards those goals. And John Doerr, who worked very closely with Andy Grove from his internship times at Intel, and he also guided the founders of Google, he has written this very good book, Measure What Matters. Okay, and the basics and advanced concepts of OKRs are very well written or documented in this book. If you are somebody who is practicing SAFe, the Scaled Agile framework, in portfolio management, you will see the mention of OKRs. Okay, so SAFe says that in their framework they use objectives and key results. Okay, so origin of objectives of key results in the work of Andy Grove that he did in Intel. So all I'm trying to tell you is that how to set up the goals and measure the performance towards this goal. This is what we have learned from the work done by people in the past. Another important work that is well noted in business literature is by Thomas Peters and Robert Waterman. What they presented in their work In Search of Excellence. And those who are not aware of this history, the famous McKinsey 7S framework is deduced from this book. Or let me say that McKinsey funded this survey to identify what are the essential components of an organization to do good business, or what is common in high performing businesses in America. So conclusion or summary or essence of that work is published in this book In Search of Excellence, which we today know as McKinsey 7S framework, one of the highly rated and well practiced framework in strategic management. So again, we do have one more mechanism available with us to set up the goals and track progress towards those goals. Here I would definitely like to make a mention of work of Robert Kaplan from 1992 to 2008. I must say Robert Kaplan and David P. Norton. So right from the balanced scorecard to the strategy focus organization to strategy maps, and eventually when they published their book The Execution Premium, today we do have a great level of understanding right from setting up the strategy, setting up the goals and measures, and eventually understanding are we really performing good against the set strategy or not. So this work is also available in the literature, and organization has learned a lot how to set up the goal and eventually how to execute them. So I will talk briefly about the book The Execution Premium, which was published in 2008 by Kaplan and Norton. So in this book, Norton and Kaplan proposed a 6-step approach of strategic planning, right from developing the strategy, planning the strategy, aligning the organization, planning the operation, monitoring and learning, and then testing and adapting. So this is one of the widely practiced strategy execution framework in US and several other parts of country. So again, I'm trying to tell you is that through the conversation so far, we do know how to analyze the ecosystem, how to set up the goals, how to perform the works against that goal. In fact, I'm going to talk more about it in subsequent slide, and especially how do we execute the strategy. Okay, so we do have this knowledge. I would also like to make a note of two important topics in benefits management. So in 1996 through 2008, okay, a very good paper was published by J. Ward, Evaluation and Realization of IS and IT Benefits, an Empirical Study of Current Practices. This was done in University of Cranfield in UK. So the intent of this study was to understand why IT projects are not providing the intended outcomes. So what we today call it as the domain of benefits management, in my opinion, or whatever the literature I'm aware about, the origins can be traced back to this study. Okay, so whether it is OKR or whether it is the execution premium process, or whether it is benefits management or value management, right? We as a businesses do have an understanding how to measure performance of an organization. Okay, so I believe so far we have talked about two important aspects. Number one is understanding the ecosystem, and second, setting up the goals and tracking their performance. So of course, through several such mechanisms, we know how to do this stuff. Now let's go to the third important attribute, that is ability of organization to perform the work to achieve the goals. Let's understand what we know about it. So I will go back again to 1985 when Michael Porter in his famous book Competitive Advantage talked about a value model, okay, which is presented in front of you. Okay, so this model was more about process driven architecture, that for an organization to do something or get certain outputs, certain inputs are required, and those inputs needs to be properly treated by several functions in an organization, right? And once those outputs are once those outputs are created and sold in the market, right, organization will gain certain margins or certain profits. Okay, so these are certain primary activities you can see: inbound logistic operations, outbound logistic, marketing and sales and services. So these are the primary functions or activities an organization will be required to do in order to turn these inputs into the outputs. Okay, and there are also certain support activities Michael Porter mentioned, that is firm infrastructure, human resource management, technological development and procurement. So again, the bottom line from this slide is, from 1985 businesses have done considerable efforts in understanding how they can improve the profitability, how they can do better, how they can do the work better. All right, this is another important article, the new product development game. The people who are from Agile and Scrum background, they will perhaps know that the origins of Scrum, the Scrum methodology, are traced back to this article. So in this article, which was published by Hirotaka Takuchi and Ikujiro Nonaka, they talked about 6 important aspects for an organization to do good product development. Those were built-in instability, self-organizing teams, overlapping phases, multi-learning, subtle control and transfer of learning. Again, in this article or in this seminar, in this webinar, I am not going to get into details of this article, but all I am trying to tell you is that, considering the inefficiencies or drawbacks of the way industry was performing their work, right, researchers or business folks identified new ways of working. And one of the classical work, or where people got a lot of inspiration, is this article: how to develop products, how to switch from old methods to new ways of working. So I strongly suggest you should read this article to understand the new ways of working proposed in 1985. Okay, now let's talk about this word, agile. In 1992, this 21st Century Manufacturing Enterprise Strategy Report was published. Okay, and in the past in earlier slide, I showed you a book, Responsibility. Okay, so the author of Responsibility was one of the contributor of this report. So in this report, the US talked about what US as a country needs to do in order to be a world-class player in manufacturing. So agile manufacturing as a term for the first time was coined in this report. And after this seminal work, several industries picked up this word agile. So what we see in IT industry today about agile, it will not be unfair. It would be fair to say that the origins of agility are actually in this article. And if you go back to the website of Agile Alliance, right, you will find a mention of this particular report. Let me read it out for you. A group of 15 executives from 13 companies joined together to produce the 21st Century Manufacturing Enterprise Strategy and Industry-Led View report and create the Agile Manufacturing Enterprise Forum. This work results in the spread of the concept of agile manufacturing and a broader view of the agile organization as one situated to deal with the change. The full report is available at some location. Okay. Right, so this is where Rick Doe, who was the part of this committee, published the book Responsibility. I talked about two things, right? Sensing and responding. So if we have to sum up these things together, we can say that business agility is all about sensing and responding. Let's move forward. Another important work that came out in this very famous book, Execution, written by Larry Bossidy and Ram Charan. So those who are not about these two stalwarts, Larry Bossidy was the CEO of Honeywell, and eventually when he came to GE, he rose to the executive position. And Ram Charan is credited as the most influential consultant alive today, who also consulted Jack Welch, the famous CEO of GE. So in this book, Execution, Larry Bossidy and Ram Charan talked about three components for an organization to create a winning proposition: strategy and operations intersected by people. So they called it as three processes: the strategy process, the people process, and operation process. In summary, the framework was very simple, that an organization should have ability to set up the strategy and execute that strategy through operational effectiveness. And then to execute that strategy, the bridge is the people. That is, the people should have the necessary skills so that they can translate the strategy to operation. I'm a very fan of this book. In fact, I'm a fan of every single book that is written by Ram Charan, and I would also recommend you that you should read this book. Not taking too much time around how we can do the work, right? The concept of iterative and incremental development is mainstream today. It is not new. So from the point of 1985 until today, a lot has been written. And if you are carefully looking at this article, it starts with pre-1970 era. What we know about to conduct the work, and how and why we move to the iterative and incremental development. So all the agile methodologies, whether it is Scrum or anything else, the common factor is they are based on iterative and incremental approach. Okay, perhaps this is the last slide that I'm talking about here. So as far as performing the work is concerned, as a business, we have seen an evolution from Henry Ford's T model to the lean mindset or lean philosophy, and today what we are talking about, cloud computing, and perhaps the next generation would be automation everywhere, where there would be self-driving cars and whatnot things coming up. Okay, so point is, from 1930s to 1970s and today's, we have evolved in terms of our capabilities to perform the work. Okay, now let's put all these things together. How to assess the business ecosystem, how to set up the goals and measure them, and how to perform the work effectively in order to meet those goals. What are the various models of business agility presented so far? So this is one famous from Project Management Institute. So if you look at this particular model, it begins with strategy, portfolio, programs and projects, and then operations. Okay, and then there are integrations among several factors. Again, a good framework which talks about how strategy can be formulated and how it can be effectively executed, and you will also see the organizational environment. Okay, but again, no pushback to this model, but one of the point that I really need, I think very carefully about this model is that it is more emphasized towards projects and programs, okay, where strategic management, setting up the goals, those things are not covered in the depth, perhaps because the focus of Project Management Institute is on projects and programs. The recent entrant in this field is the Scaled Agile framework. It has 7 competencies, right? The business agility competencies. So on the right hand side, the pink part, that is the strategy part, and the left hand side, the blue part, that is the execution part. This is also a good framework, but in this framework we may not be able to see the goal setting part or assessment of the environment in which organization operate, and you can call it as a limitation, or you can call it as the very positive attribute of this framework is that it is focused for IT. Okay, so this is another framework that is known. Business Agility Institute also published their business agility concept around 3 dimensions: leadership, individuals, and operations. So if you see that under leadership there is a mention of strategic agility, and in this case the strategic agility is basically how you can make appropriate choices. The individuals is about the people, processes, developing the capabilities, and then the operation is about the operational excellence. So this is also, and the customers of course is at the center. So this also seems to be a very consolidated business agility framework, but I would like to see more about the intelligence part in terms of assessing the environment and the continual assessment of the changing environment. Okay, so that's about Business Agility Institutes. And we at RX Agile, right, the team led by me and my colleagues, we also thought about how do we consolidate all this knowledge together and create a model that can be that can serve as a basis to assess business agility. So again, to sum up, this business model is around 3 attributes: how organization assess the evolving environment, how organizations set up and assess the goals, and how organizations perform the work to achieve the goals. So before I present the RX Agile business agility model, let me tell you that the other business agility models that I discussed so far, they have one or other element missing in their framework. And at RX Agile, the attempt we have made is that how do we put all these things together. So this is how we look at business agility. And this business agility we have put into 6 practice areas, keeping strategic management and leadership at the center, right, which is about assessing the business environment and setting up the goals through making appropriate choices. There is one business practice area, that is analytics and business intelligence, which you can see at both sides, towards right on the left hand side and right hand side. So this analytics and business intelligence is our interpretation of understanding and evaluating the ecosystem outside the organization, plus the information or intelligence an organization will get from the work it is doing internally. Okay, and then we have 4 more practice areas which are more about performing the work: technology and engineering practices, and let's say lean and agile practices. So these are the 2 practice areas which an organization need to master in order to do the work. Operational excellence and business performance is the practice area which is concerned about, once the value is created, how to sustain it continually. And finally, organizational development and change management is the practice area we have conceived to cater to the very need of organization to adopt right structure, creating right culture, promoting right behavior. Those would be complementary to the way of working we need to do today, considering the technology practices and lean and agile practices. So these 6 practice areas put together, right, addresses these three key attributes: assessing the environment, setting up the goals by making appropriate choices, and performing the work in order to ensure strategic goals are met. So this is how we are presenting the business agility model from RxAgile, and we believe that it can work as a very good starter point for an organization to assess its maturity level. So let me present a comprehensive definition of business agility, how we would like to pursue business agility. Business agility is defined as the ability of an organization to continually assess its environment, make appropriate choices to win in the market, and develop capabilities and capacities to stay competitive in the disruptive business environment. While doing so, the focus of the organization always remains on adjusting the choices it made, the goals it set out for herself, and continually evolve its capacities and capabilities to achieve the goals in response to the changing business environment. This is, I believe, should be a comprehensive definition of business agility which embraces all the three factors or attributes we discussed so far. To sum it up, I would like to present to you how this framework is agnostic to any methodology. First thing first, it is outcome focused. The focus is on the outcome, and the outcome in this case is value. It embraces time-tested concepts and philosophies. So there is nothing new that we at RxAgile are putting forward or creating new. It is all about how do we adopt or embrace a lot of knowledge we have from several domains and several philosophies. The challenge is how do we put them together. And as a matter of fact, I have shown you what sort of a knowledge we already have. I have shown you those case studies and those examples. In this model, there is no role definition. Unlike any framework presented by PMI or SAFe or any other thing, there are no role definition in this framework. In fact, what our proposal is, or the proposal of the business agility framework of RxAgile, is that think through the organizational development and change management practice area and create a structure and rules which are most suitable and appropriate for the unique context of that organization. To give an example, PMO, Project Management Office. What is a PMO? By definition, it is an entity which offers certain services to an organization which helps the organization in better value delivery. Now, which services an PMO should offer purely depends on the organization in question. If we go to an extreme, it is very likely that for an organization, PMO could be the cornerstone, and for a certain organization, PMO could be a non-existing fact. That is also possible. They may not need a PMO, right? So in this framework, we talk about no rules. We only talk about concepts and tools and building blocks that an organization can use to build its own structure, culture, and associated behaviors. Most importantly, this framework is methodology agnostic. No methodology is suggested to be adopted or performed by an organization. There are several methodologies available. I have also talked about in the presentation before, where I have gave you a snapshot of a paper, the history of iterative and incremental development, or the new product development came. Okay, so no methodologies. Rather, we would say that let the methodology be adopted by an organization, and that methodology could be its own. It could be directly what I would say hired or taken by some other organization, or several other methodologies put together and a customization done for that organization in question. So let's be open about it. applicable to product and service industry. This is very, very important. So here when we are talking about this business agility framework, we do not want to restrict our focus only towards product development. It should be equally applicable to service industry. And most important, flexible to adapt to changing business context. So this is the very reason why we kept this framework as practice areas. Okay, because what we believe is it will always remain about setting up the strategy and its effective execution. What may change is the underlying technologies, right, and appropriate business model and appropriate structure adapted by the organization to embrace those business models and technology. So it looks very objective to us that keeping this framework in terms of practice areas makes more sense. So it is flexible to adapt changing business context. For instance, the technology and engineering practices as a practice area will remain same for a longer period of time. What may change is the new technologies which are evolving or getting developed. Having said that, I must also tell you that we appreciate that this framework may have its own expiry date, okay, or shelf life, because we are living in a continually changing world. If you like to call it as VUCA, yes, we are in VUCA environment. So in 2020, if this sounds reasonable and relevant, by 2030 we might have to go back and reshape this. And of course this framework is open to getting adapted as the new changes are presented in business environment. So it's pretty flexible. I hope this gives you an understanding about what business agility means, and for an organization to truly embrace business agility, which are the attributes it should be looking at. So having talked about all this while, I will take a pause now and I would be open to any questions coming from your side. Over to you guys. I'm opening the question log and I will be taking your question. So Sumit has asked a question, will you be sharing the presentation with us? Yes, I will be sharing the presentation with you, and recording of this webinar will be available on our YouTube channel. In next few days, you should be able to receive an email from us to access the recording. Thank you. Esther has a question. You mentioned certain business agility frameworks. Which framework is the best? So Esther, my answer to your question is that it will not be appropriate to say that this framework is better or that framework is better. The appropriate question would be assessing which framework is best suitable for a particular organization. That should be the right question to ask. If I understand your own unique case, then I can give you further insights about it. But thank you for bringing up this question. Alright, there are questions coming up, but I think we have already done, the webinar has extended to quite a time. So what I'm going to do is that I will take up this question log and I will respond to your questions over email. So having said that, guys, I must thank you for joining this, and I will be sending you the recording very shortly. So on that note, let me close this webinar. Thank you so much. Take care.